And I have here is relationships. This is from WCNC.com, where we get all of our consonants stories. This is relationships in the workplace. I'm sure you guys cover this all the time. A good do or definite don't, question mark. I'm going to have to read on to answer. But is dating a coworker the best idea? They asked relationship expert Jennifer Hurwitz her thoughts on workplace romances, along with stats from, Forbes. Boo! Workplace romance statistics shows that I think it's higher. Over 60% of adults have had a workplace romance. Her marriage was the result of a workplace romance. It was a showmance. 57% of report workplace relationships have impacted their work performance. 43% have married someone that they worked with. Both you guys have. 35% said.
Wait, are we married?
That's the second one.
We have grown very far apart because I don't even.
The anniversary. You forgot the whole marriage.
That would be a good time to give her that piggy bank that you got her to sort of soften the wheel. 35% don't report their relationship to their employer. That makes sense. 40% have cheated on their current partner with a coworker. 50% reported flirting with their coworkers. Again, I find all of these numbers to be pretty small. Ask yourself these following questions before hooking up with a coworker. I would say, but with consent as well. Are you concerned about how your work performance might be impacted? If a breakup were to occur, would both parties be able to continue working together? That'd be a big one. Are you familiar with the guidelines regarding workplace relationships and the do's and don'ts? Tell your boss sooner rather than later. Best that it comes from you. Keep your interactions professional during business hours to avoid human resources. It's crucial to know your company's workplace relationship policies, and do not have any sexual activity on company property. Yeah. Yeah.
Whoops. I love those questions because I'm just imagining asking them like in the heat of the moment, like between thrusts. Is this going to be cool if we break up?
So true. Well, all right. Obviously, you guys have your own stories with work showmances. But I would assume in this Me Too day and age, more and more companies are saying no. You can't do it, period. Not that would stop people. I'm sure it'd make it hotter. But I got to assume that HR is telling people left and right they can't do this, period.
But I'm going to take it one step further, and I'm going to imagine that HR people, can't even ask you about,
oh, yeah.
Gone so far in some direction.
Yeah.
That I wonder if you can even ask about that.
And again,
yeah, you probably can't ask about it, but I'm sure with the onboarding procedures, there's like a blanket, don't get involved with a coworker, right? I'm sure they advise against it.
Oh, yeah.
If something is happening, they probably can't ask.
So they're like, you got 2 weeks of paid vacation, don't fuck anybody. Laptop is only for company use. Yeah.
It reminds me of the Friends episode where Ross is dating his student, and they're like, "You are so fired." He's like, "I thought it was frowned upon." They're just like, I don't know. Just register this right here.
In terms of the power dynamics, I think if you're dating, it should be linearly and not laterally. Does that make sense?
What about if you're...
So, if it's a coworker who's of equal standing in the company, yes. But a superior and a...
Oh, yeah.
Inferior? Is that what we call it?
Yes, I'm sure not anymore.
Subordinate? You shouldn't.
So how does this work with actors? If they are way ahead of you on the call sheet, can you not have sex with them?
No, if it's someone who's getting you the job. So anyone, producers and
especially now.
That would be so great, though, just to say, sorry, I'd love to go out with you, but you're just, you're a couple of, you only have 2 lines.
You're a day player, and I'm a series regular.
I mean, you're hot, but you're a glorified extra. I don't even know if you're allowed to craft services. Well, from both of your ends, how long amongst coworkers did you guys keep it a secret? And isn't that kind of the fun part anyway, I think?
For quite a long time
I
for
remember you
me.
saying,
yeah, and it was a goddamn intern that saw us on the street together, and the whole thing unfolded. But
that's like a Sex and the
Really?
City episode.
yeah, it was ridiculous, but it was kind of funny when you are.
Intern was like, "This is my moment."
Yeah, I'm taking you down. When you are, being secretive about something like this, on a Monday, say, one of your coworkers would be like, "What'd you do this weekend?" You're like, "What do you mean? What did I do this weekend?" You're like, you think everyone must know, and you're reading so many things into like a glance, or they're like, "Why did they pick their nose? What are they trying to tell me? Did they know something?"
Oh, yeah.
So it breeds a lot of paranoia. I don't know if that was your
Well,
case.
did you find that the secretiveness like made it a little more fun though?
Yeah, it was pretty fun until it was like annoying because in this particular job we worked in New Jersey.
I forgot about
And
that.
so my lovely wife now, who was my lovely girlfriend then, had a car. So, but most people had to get there by bus. So she would drive me
Oh my
and then like drop me off at some random spot, and then I would walk the rest of the way. And it made no sense because it was like on the side of a highway. Like there's no way you could have gotten there. And it was just like I didn't walk.
is great.
I didn't walk from Brooklyn. Like it made no sense at all. But that's what it
Bova
was.
going through something? I saw him on the 94.
On Route 9. What?
Oh, that is great. Well, and they really did have a difference of power because she was his editor-in-chief. How about that?
So what are you trying to say, Joanne? You trying to
Saying
negate?
she should have gotten fired.
Yeah.
Well, I do wonder if I can still sue that company. I was forced.
I love that you think Frisky still exists.
20-something years and have 2 children, or I'd never work in this town again.
Oh, that's great. Obviously, we got to ask. First of all, we'll give you room to apologize for your failed orchestrated coup against Putin last weekend. And then secondly, where do we go from here? What, if anything, does this... I mean, obviously, the Wagner group here that no longer seems to be very much in disarray. These guys are, for whatever reason, they're supposed to all be dead. That's the Putin way. They are either allowed to join the regular Russian army, go home, or go to Belarus, however it's pronounced, where Prigozhin is. What's going on? What, if anything, does this mean for Putin, who is not looking great, even amongst the eyes of his people right now?
Well, and also Putin just like let this guy go.
I know. Yeah, come on.
Well, look, they go back a long ways, right? So it's not like it's just some dude that showed up, right? I mean, they came out of St. Petersburg together, and Putin's known him a long time, which doesn't excuse his jackassery, but Prigozhin has been a useful idiot for Putin for some time now, and we've talked about that before because Prigozhin's kind of fell into this habit of criticizing the Russian military leadership, the defense minister in particular. And my feeling has been that Putin didn't really mind that. People always said, oh, my God, look at the disarray here. But I think Putin found that somewhat useful to have somebody other than himself kicking his senior military leadership in the ass because, frankly, they've done a very piss poor job. But the reality is now Putin. Everybody underestimates Putin. Look, he's a complete dick, and he's got all the blood on his hands from this Ukraine conflict, which is entirely his making, and he should go. But the idea that a lot of the social media world seem to be rooting for Prigozhin, to topple Putin, is an interesting dynamic, considering how much blood Prigozhin has on his hands, how unstable and bizarre he is as a character, and the fact that he would then theoretically have some control over the Russian nuclear arsenal. So that was probably not a good call for people to get all excited that Prigozhin might topple Putin. I suspect they were just caught up in the emotion. The Wagner Group, look, they've been supported financially and with hardware by the Russian military ever since they started. right? And so what really pissed off Prigozhin was the idea that pre-coup that he was essentially informed that the Russian military would be subsuming the Wagner Group forces.
I didn't even know
And
that.
so that was one of the elements that I think made Prigozhin lose his shit a little bit and get out over his skis. But the Wagner Group now, look, they've been active in a variety of places around the globe, and they've been useful, from Putin's perspective. He's always tried to deny that there was any connection. Everybody knew there was a connection. So now they're just taking that little thin veil off of there and saying, okay, now the Wagner Group is being subsumed by the Russian military. And look, they're not, people want to talk about them like they're, Lex Luthor and his band of invincibles. I don't think that was actually a book, but
I don't think that was a thing at all.
I don't think,
no.
I don't think it's a thing.
Trademark that immediately.
The military has encountered Wagner's, forces in the past. They're not particularly good. They're made up of disgruntled Russian soldiers and has-beens. They're made up of convicts. They're made up of hooligans. They get paid for what they do. And, as with any mercenary force, sometimes they've been effective and sometimes they haven't. And they've been operating in thuggish environments where they can get away with a lot of shit. So anyway, it's an interesting chapter. We still haven't addressed the bigger overriding question, which is, where's the off-ramp for the Ukraine conflict? But maybe we'll get there.
Well, now, but it's one thing to question the defense minister that you perhaps might have an issue with, although he and Putin have been seen together a lot since the coup. But it's quite another to march on Moscow. And, Putin's all about optics. This ain't a good one for the outside world, and more importantly, the people, the little, always with the tail between their leg Russian people that I do maintain like being, sort of ruled by a dictator. That does not look good for them, because if you're going to be a dictator, you better offer one thing, stability. Yeah. And this is not stable looking.
Well, no, it's not stable looking, and it's not the optic that Putin wanted. But I guess my point in saying, people were a little bit quick to write him off. They don't understand necessarily, where he's come from and what he's done over the years in terms of being able to survive in that environment. They don't necessarily understand the dynamics of the Russian military and their allegiance. And they also probably imagined somehow that the Russian population would rise up in protest against Putin. And so there was a lot going on there in people's imaginations as to what was going to happen. Does Prigozhin survive? Does he end up, dead in Minsk? That's a good, your money could go either way. I'd probably, do one of those bets where you place an equal amount on both sides.
Well, before you came on, we were talking about, this is funny, all three of the people on the show today married a coworker. What was the CIA's policies as far as dating is concerned? And when you were dating your first wife, did they, because we were doing a story on this, do you have to, I would assume you got to disclose this right away. Or maybe not.
What kind of fucking segue is that?
Because we were just talking about it before you came on.
Listen, we all make fun of me, but at least I try.
I take back what I said. You're sort of you're the benchmark now for segues.
You're welcome. That was my present for you. I was like, the only way to get shame off of her is to make mine worse.
Wow. I got. The torque I just experienced in that change of direction.
All right, let's first imagine Prigozhin and Putin fucking. Okay, now co-workers dating.
Speaking of complicated relationships,
are you happy? Now that's a linear line from one story to another.
That's the segue. Speaking of complicated relationships.
There you go.
Brilliant. So I forget, what was the question?
Did you guys have to, I would assume if there are workplace relationships, which I'm sure there are, long hours, what have you, travel, in the agency, I would assume you have to disclose it right away. I'm assuming it is frowned upon to begin with. How does that sort of work with national security when you are dating a coworker?
Well, if you're dating a coworker, it's not a problem because, you're inside the tent.
But even then, though, because there could be obviously problems within the romance, and then that could affect the job, that kind of stuff.
No, I mean not really. I mean there's a large number of romances and marriages and divorces that go on internally inside the agency. It's got a high divorce rate, as I well know. And so,
Sorry, I probably
but
shouldn't have
if
brought up.
and if you date somebody who is a U.S. citizen, right, but doesn't work for the government, or doesn't work for the agency in particular, then yeah, then you're just buttoned up and you stick you stick with whatever your story is, in the sense of there's a lot of people who work for the agency who simply say they work for the agency. They actually in the old days would carry business cards and say, agency, whatever, deputy director of logistics or something. So that's an easy answer there. But if you theoretically are operating undercover, you're not supposed to be saying that you work for the agency, then you just stick with whatever that is. If it's a U.S. citizen, if it's a foreign national, then you have to report that contact straight away.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm sure.
And they'll either say, okay, that's we thank you for filling out the form and providing us with the knowledge of the contact, and then you have to keep them informed as to whether it was just a sloppy one night stand, or whether you end up having a relationship with them. I don't know where I came up with sloppy one night stand.
Well, we know how you like it. We know you like it messy.
If it's not sloppy, you're not doing it right.
Well, now, Bova, if you have to, please ask questions and all. I was thinking maybe we go over a little bit. I know you have a thing of one.
My curiosity is, it must be exceptionally hard to for two CIA agents to cheat on each other. 'Cause
Yes.
how on earth are you gonna outfox another CIA agent? That's got to be a tough one.
Yeah. It is. That's a very good point. Because you tend to be cynical and maybe a little what's the word I'm looking for?
Good at lying.
Yeah, I'm struggling for the word, but you're right. And so, but that doesn't mean that I haven't seen that happen, where I've watched a couple kind of fall apart because one was cheating on the other, and then you look at the way that they did it, and you think, well, you can't be that stupid, and if you're that stupid, you shouldn't be working for the agency.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
It's a good way to weed out the riffraff, I suppose.
The riffraff.
Well, I like this one. Then we might revisit next time you're on, because there's a lot of them. Basically, all y'all's traveled. You've got a honeymoon coming up. American habits and phrases that are rude in other countries. I thought this very much applied for you, because you always speak of how you need to blend in when being an operative on foreign soil. And so much of that is, the basic how do you do's in various good or bad countries. One of them, they give a couple examples here. One of them is laughing with your mouth open. That is not frowned upon in Japan. Opening gifts in front of the giver is also frowned upon in other Asian countries. You should do that after they leave. But I guess that's can be an American thing.
Yeah.
A firm handshake in the Philippines is considered a sign of disrespect. So I guess that means Trump would ever not do as firm a handshake as possible if he was visiting them. Crossing your fingers. Good luck here. In Vietnam, it's a crass gesture. And saying you're from America is obviously offensive to, there's that, and there's also, it's offensive to South American countries that also believe they live here as well.
You should say the United States.
Right. A couple other ones. Obviously, you guys get the idea. Talking about mental health, the Brits really don't like that. Makes sense. Baker, have any of these ever tripped you up? Any weird ones come to mind? And that goes for you guys, too. You've all traveled.
You've got something on there that says the Brits they find it offensive when you talk about mental health?
Yeah, going to a psychiatrist or therapist and stuff like that. They consider it uncouth to speak of that in public, or as much as we do.
You don't talk about it like we do here. We're going to therapy as a badge of honor in the States. Okay, I get. That makes sense. Yeah, you know what it is. It's very important. If you're doing, and it's not just in the old game, but in business. Portman Square Group, for all your global intelligence investigations and security needs, we operate all over the world. And so it's very important for our people to understand all the cultures, right? And because you do, it is important to understand some of these basic things. And it's not difficult to learn. You just have to take a little bit of time. And before you go somewhere, understand what the environment is like, right? I actually have have a entire chapter in my book, which is sweeping the nation, and that's know your operating environment.
Yes.
And so that is critical both in my old business and then in the private sector. If you want to succeed, if you don't want to succeed, then don't bother. But yeah, there's a lot. I realized I had a question. Where are you going on your honeymoon, Joe?
Oh, London, Amsterdam, and Bruges.
Nice. Oh, that'll be wonderful. That'll be terrific.
And I just rewatched the movie In Bruges.
Oh.
To prepare.
Mike, I wonder if this is true. I remember, and yeah, whatever, your honeymoon. That during World War II, a dead giveaway of a spy was how they ate a piece of pie. So I've heard, and I wonder if you've ever heard this, where it's triangle slice, right? And Americans would sort of start at the tip and go deeper, whereas I forget if it was Germans sort of turn it sideways and sort of go at it sideways.
So
I don't know if I dreamt that, if I saw it in a movie, or if it was an episode of Modern Family. I don't know. But have you ever heard that?
Yeah, I mean, first of all, I don't know how you do it any other way than to start with a tip and go deeper. But I think if anybody's figured out some alternative to that, then okay. But
do you ever you're not hungry and so it's just the tip? Save the rest for later.
Yeah, but it's a really good point that you make, because I always do this if we're serving pie at home, and by golly, when aren't we? Then I make a habit of setting the pie in different ways in front of the different people, right? So like you set it down and sometimes it's the round crust edge facing them, sometimes it's the tip, sometimes it's sideways, because I'm fascinated with seeing what people do. And you're absolutely right. If they're American, 100%, they'll turn the plate so that the tip points towards them. I'll stand by that 100%.
Right.
People should try this at home the next time you're serving pie.
And who likes to take the pie from behind?
Well, I suspect most. So,
honestly, though,
you got to mix it up, pie eating wise.
no, we can all agree you need some whipped cream. No matter what, involve whipped cream.
Well, Baker, I think we're going to nominate this one for a potty.